Okay, hello and good morning everyone. Welcome to JFD Brokers Traders Espresso with me, Darius Anucauskas. Today is the 18th of February 2019, so welcome everyone. Welcome to this Monday's morning session where we're going to have a look at the markets, a few charts, the usual stuff. So I hope you're all feeling nice and relaxed and after the weekend. So yep, now let's get back into the game, let's put it that way. So before we jump into the charts, let's quickly have a read through our risk disclaimer. So the content we produce does not constitute investment advice or investment recommendation, should not be considered as such, and does not in any way constitute any invitation to acquire any financial instrument or product. As always, a few seconds for you to read the rest and we can continue. Right, okay, so now then, right, the first instrument that I would like to look at is DAX. Now we know that DAX on Friday had a fantastic rally to the upside here. You can see the nice strong candle to the upside. So in a way, of course, for now we could see, for now we're aiming for further upside, given that it managed to close the week in the positive territory. So certainly it's trading above this little short-term downside resistance line taken from the 27th of September last year, but slightly the other, let's say, the other downside resistance line where we're keeping a close eye on is this one taken from the highs of the 15th of June. Now, of course, before we could see that the index testing that level, this line, we need to see a break above this barrier here around the 11,375 zone, so which was marked here by the highs of the 5th of February. Now, only then we'll consider a possible move here towards this downside resistance line that I've just mentioned, which is running from the high of the 15th of June. Now, of course, be very careful there. Certainly this line could be just seen maybe as a temporary pit stop, because slightly above that we do have this 200 EMA here shown on this daily chart as black line, and of course that's the area that could hold up the price, because you can see that in the past here it acted as a good area of resistance on the 2nd of November and also on the 22nd of October. So in a way, guys, this downside resistance line that I've just mentioned, certainly it's something for you to keep a close eye on, but don't forget, we slightly above there we do have a nice good potential area of resistance here near the 200 EMA, which is around the 11,680 zone. So for now, of course, keep your eyes on that one. For now, from the very short-term perspective, you could in a way keep your eyes on the 11,375 level. And actually, let me just jump into a 4-hour chart quickly just to kind of show you so what's happening, how this level played out nicely. So there we go. So yep, so for now, guys, this one right here, this is going to be our first target. If we see a break above this, then yep, we will target the downside resistance line. On the other hand, if this decides to reverse back down and drops below the 11,260 level, which was marked here by the high of the 14th of February, now certainly this could maybe raise a bit of concerns here in the bull block, and we could see this one traveling further down. Certainly there's this little other obstacle here on the way to the downside is the 11,210 level, which kind of acted as some sort of a like temporary stop here for or temporary hold up level for this index. But in a way, for better confirmation of the downside, certainly we will target the 11,100 level. But again, for those who are looking for something more, let's say medium term, from the medium term perspective, you could in a way keep your eyes on the psychological 11,000 level. Now a drop below that could of course initially send the index towards this little area here, towards this little low near the 10,865. But if this fails to hold it, to hold the bears from kind of pushing this index lower, then slightly below that we do have another good potential area of support near the 10,825 level. Now this, you can see that in the past here on the 17th of January and also on the 8th of January, it acted as a good area of support. So that's why, guys, for now, certainly the downside could be slightly off the table. But again, even if we would see maybe a slide lower, still there are some key areas of support for this index to overcome before we could consider a further decline here. So in a way, like I said, we would start looking at the downside if we see a drop below the 11,100 level. But for better confirmation, it's the psychological 11,000 level that we're going to be keeping a close eye on. But for now, so like I said, for now, guys, from the very short-term perspective, keep your eyes on the 11,375. Let's see if it manages to overcome that. Jumping into one commodity, or should I say precious metal, or should I say gold. Now gold had a fantastic move on Friday as well, so managed to push away and break above its key area of resistance near the 1316 level. Now I was talking about this commodity in one of my previous videos last week, so I was telling you guys to keep a close eye on this one. So we had a nice pop above this 1316, so of course the precious metal managed to rush higher, and already kind of today almost managed to reach this key area of resistance. Near the 1326 level. You can see that previously it acted as a good area of resistance back here on the 31st of January this year, and also back here on the around May time 2018. So that's why, guys, this is going to be a very important level to watch. Now, of course, if we're trying to find another potential area of resistance, if in case this gets broken, the 1326 level. Now this is where we will target the inside swing low here of the 12th of April 2018. So that was approximately around the 1333 level. But if that doesn't hold, the bulls down, then of course further acceleration to the upside could be possible. So from the medium term perspective, we're still keeping a close eye on this level right here near the highs of the 19th and the 20th of April, and that was around the 1355 zone, so around there, guys, approximately. But again, for this higher level, we of course need to see a few breaks here of key resistance areas. So initially we need to see a nice good pop above the 1326 level, and then of course we need to see further acceleration to the upside and break of the 1333 area, approximately there. Now of course, like I said, this is in terms of the upside. On the downside, now if you can see that we are still trading above this upside support line taken from the lows of the 14th of November. So it's quite a nice gauge here of how this commodity is performing. But from the very short-term perspective, guys, I mean, if this decides to drop back below the 1316 level, now of course this could be a bit of a worry sign for the bulls. Certainly we could see maybe a further slide lower, maybe even actually another retest of this upside support line that I was talking about. Now still, as long as that line remains intact, we will still continue aiming for higher levels. But again, if this gets broken, now this is where we could see more sellers jumping in here and potentially driving this one lower. But for better confirmation of the downside, this is what we're looking for here, the 1302 level. That's what we need to see in order to kind of consider further decline. So for now, guys, certainly on the upside is the 1326 level that we're keeping a close eye on. On the downside, 1316. If this drops below that, then yep, we will target slightly lower levels. Jumping into Ripple now. Ripple had a nice good pop here to the the upside. I was covering this one last week as well. Basically, we had a nice push away from this key area of support near the 0.3050 level. You can see that how it tested that level nicely. Certainly did have a few undershoots here, but quickly pushed higher and broke this this short-term, maybe a bit of a tentative downside resistance line taken from the high of the 31st of January. So now, of course, certainly we will continue aiming higher, but you can see that we managed to break this key area of resistance near the 0.3190. To be honest, it's sometimes a bit difficult to find a good area of support and resistance, or should I say the more precise area of support and resistance on cryptos. So that's why, guys, I'm just gonna mention a few areas, because like I said, it's sometimes a bit difficult to kind of it doesn't really it's not always following these key areas of support and resistance. So even, yes, this one here, the 0.3050, we got quite lucky on this one, but you can see that here, for example, it managed to break the 0.3190 level nicely to the upside, but then now it's kind of trading below it. So for now, we're gonna, like I said, continue monitoring this area. If we see a push away from it to the upside, now of course, for to get more comfortable with the upside, at least from the short-term perspective, we would like to see a nice good push above the 0.3260 level, which was marked here by the high of the 8th of February, and only then we will target the area like the 0.3425 or above. But for now, guys, certainly it's good to see that this crypto has managed to break higher, break a few of the resistance areas, but for now, for a better confirmation of the upside, we need to see a nice good pop up at the 0.3260 level, and only then we will target the next area, potential area of resistance near the high of the 31st of January at around the 0.3425. On the downside, well, a drop below this little short-term tentative upside support line taken from the lows of the 29th of January could potentially send this crypto lower, and we could eventually test maybe the low of the 6th of February, or even actually the lows near the 29th of January. Jumping into euro dollar now, this is a bit of a tricky one. So certainly currently you can see that it's having a nice push. On Friday, of course, we had a nice push to the upside. Right now it's kind of trying to, and actually is almost succeeding, break the 113.10 level marked by the high of the 14th of February, and now of course we're going to continue observing this level here. The next area that we're keeping a close eye on is of course the high near the 13th of February, which was around the 113.40. Now we could see this one traveling further up here. Of course, the only thing is, don't forget that we're still keeping a close eye on this upside support line, in a way tentative one, of course, and I keep talking about it, but again, we're going to continue observing that one, because if this decides to travel further up here but gets a nice hold up near this upside support line from underneath, then we could potentially see maybe some more bears jumping in actually and taking control and driving this pair lower. For us, let's say, to start considering the upside again, we would like to see a nice good push above the 114 level, and only then we will target much higher levels. But for now, like I said, until it's kind of trading here, we are more bearish than bullish. If, let's say, this decides to drop nicely and breaks below last week's lows here near the 112.50, then yep, further declines are possible, and of course this could confirm a forthcoming lower low. Jumping into GBPUSD. Now this is a bit of a tricky one, because it kind of contradicts the euro dollar scenario here, but you can see that now the pair is breaking this downside resistance line taken from the high of the 29th of January. Now of course, be very careful with this one, given the fact that still the British pound is weak and is kind of really it's vulnerable to any news coming out around Brexit. So in a way, even though it is trading now above this downside resistance line, if this suddenly drops below it, if it suddenly drops below this downside resistance line again, then yep, this is where more selling could come in, and we could then see a test of this tentative upside support line again. But Certainly, again, this is a bit of a tentative one, so don't really focus on that too much. For now, guys, what we're gonna keep on monitoring is, of course, the key support and resistance levels. So for now, if this decides to travel above the 129, 129.60 level right here, now this is of course where probably more bulls could start jumping in and potentially driving this one a little bit higher. We do have the psychological 130 level to watch out for. If the pair gets above the 130 even, then I mean, yep, we could then target even further higher levels. But for now, guys, again, like I said, I'll repeat myself, given the issues concerning around Brexit, then the pound could remain vulnerable, even if, like I said, even though we are trading above this this downside resistance line. So for now, guys, be very careful. If this decides to reverse back down and drops below the 128.30 level, now this is where we will target the last week's lows, which were near the 127.72. A break below that could send this pair towards a test of this key area of support near the 127.10, which you can see in the past acted as a very good area of support. So, but then again, like I said, in order to kind of consider this level here, we need to see this one reversing back down below this downside resistance line and dropping, of course, below the 128.30 level. And this, like I said, we will target slightly lower levels. And jumping into USDJPY, the last pair for this session, with this one also a little bit tricky because look where it's sitting right now. So on one hand, yes, it managed to break this little range that it was trading in for quite a while here, between the 109.10 level on the downside and the 110 on the upside. So of course, yes, last week it dropped lower here on Thursday, and managed to break this short-term tentative upside support line. On Friday, of course, it tried to push higher but failed to kind of get back above this upside support line. Certainly, this actually puts us in a bit of a neutral position here, because if this pair decides to travel back above this upside support line and gets above this area right here, this resistance zone near the 110.80, now this is where it could become more exciting for the bulls, because they could start targeting the last week's highs near the 111.13, a break of which could open the path towards higher levels, could confirm a forthcoming higher high. And of course, we will then look at levels like the 111.45 or even higher. But for now, as long as it remains here in this position here, we are going to be something more of a well, we'll take a more neutral position here, just continue observing and wait for that key break, either through the 110.80 level, or on the downside a drop below the Friday's lows, which were near which were near the 110.25 level, and only then we'll of course target the psychological 110, a break of which could lead the pair towards a test of this tentative upside support line here. So for now, guys, be very careful, because it could be a bit tricky here. But again, like I said, we'll wait for this confirmation break before we make the next move. Okay, guys, my voice is going down right now. Thank you very much for watching and listening, and I hope you found it useful. And if you want to join me later on in my trader's tea time, and that's 14:15 GMT time. But for now, have a wonderful day. Be very careful, and always have your stop loss in place, guys. Thank you very much. Bye bye.